Hello everyone, thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I have a Bible journaling process video using acrylic paints. If you followed me for a while and watched my videos, you know that that is my go-to choice of medium to use on Bible journaling. I don't know, it's just my favorite. So I'm gonna be doing a Bible journal entry for the 4th of July. Now, normally I don't do like celebration type of Bible journal entries, for example, the 4th of July, but for some reason I felt that I I just felt led to, and so I wanted to document Psalms 33:12, where it says, happy is the nation whose God is the Lord, the people he has chosen to be his own possession. So I just really like that little verse, and I know that with everything going on in the world, with the political aspect of um, of our world, and just how things look a little bit gloomy, and you hear the news and it's kind of makes you feel a little discouraged. So because of that, I did want to kind of document for the 4th of July that although there's all this um, negativity and all that stuff, we are still a very much a blessed nation, and we're very lucky, those who live in the US, to have the freedoms that we do. I know it may not seem like it, and it just seems like every day there's a new battle concerning our freedoms and our rights, but if you think about it, we are truly blessed. And my prayer while journaling this is that we, as people of the United States, pray and um, pray for our nation, pray for those that live in the U.S., and especially for those that are Christian that live in the U.S., and just for the remembrance that of our freedom, for the remembrance of our freedom, and for those who have fought for that freedom, and just that we are free because Christ has made us free, and we should be happy because I know for one that I have chosen for God to rule my life, but also to rule this nation, and that He will prevail, and He has prevailed because we know in Revelation that He wins, so we have victory. So anyways, that's what I wanted to document. And so I'm using a couple acrylic paints here. I'm using Payne's Gray. Some of these names I can't say. It's purpley blue, and then I'm using a lake blue and an ocean green. I'm going to try to create a sky effect gradient here, and then I'm going to do some fireworks. So I'm hoping that this turns out well. I have a silver and an ultramarine and some bright red, and I will be using some white acrylic paint. So I'm going to go ahead and put you on fast forward and see how this turns out.
Okay, so first off, I am grabbing my painter's palette here, and I am going to just blob a bunch of the colors that I showed you at the beginning of the video. So my first thing to tackle here is try to get the gradient sky. So I'm starting off from bottom up, and I'm going to start with the lightest shade of blue that I picked for my sky color scheme. And once I see the width that I like, I'm going to then switch over to the second darkest shade. And basically, I am just going back and forth with this. The paint on Bible pages does dry a little quicker, and it's hard to move. They're not as liquidy, at least not the brand that I have. I know there's others that have the acrylic paint a little bit more fluid, and the ones that I have are not. So I did have to dip my brush every now and then to move the color and have it blend together. So now I am going with that Payne's Gray Dark color, and I'm overlapping it between the second darkest color and then even to the lightest shade at the bottom. So I'm trying to really blend this out and make it feel like a gradient sky versus block color. So I'm really trying to move the color around, and my brush was not cooperating, and the bristles are a little on the rough side, so they stick out. And so when I would do the swiping motion on the edge where the spine or the spiral is of this Bible, the fibers were kind of going on the verse number, so I kind of covered that accidentally, and there was no going back from that, so I just went with it. So here I'm just adding a little bit more color because I felt that the light color blue was not mixing in naturally with the dark part of the sky here. So I'm just going back and forth in horizontal motions with my brush. I did switch from the brush that I was using. The brush that I was using at the beginning, that blue one, was a 3/4 inch Craftsmart brush, and so it's kind of like a rounded tip brush that I got in a pack at, I think it was Michael's, and that is what I was using. Then I switched over to a square paintbrush, and that one is a 20 flat brush. I was using the one in red, and I went along the edges to try to fix it up because this particular brush is a little bit well kept as in the hairs of the paintbrush. So I was trying to fix it, but it didn't really matter at that point. So next I grabbed my heat gun, just making sure that I dry everything up before I start painting on it, because I am a klutz, and so every time I paint I always get it all over my forearms and just my clothes and stuff accidentally, because I get too excited to continue the next part of what I'm painting that I end up smishing everything. So to avoid any accidents and to avoid any errors, I went ahead and dried everything up. So next I grab this smaller brush, and this one doesn't have a number because they're so old. They've kind of been painted on over and over and then kind of scratched out, but it's like maybe a size 8 round tip brush. And then I switched over to a smaller brush, and I believe, I don't want to guess the number of it, but it's just a really thin tip brush to add these strokes. So I added these white circles, and I did 3 just to visually keep it all looking really nice. Before, I used to do everything in even numbers just because I liked even numbers, but when it comes to art, visually everything is looks better in odd numbers. So I did 3, and so these are going to be the 2 smaller ones, and then the top one is going to be the largest firecracker here. So basically all I did first is went and did the like starburst strokes onto the 2 smaller circles at the bottom with that small brush, and it's very thin, so it helps make these strokes really nice and gives it that illusion, that effect of firework. And so once I did the white layer, I went ahead and went in with the red for the one you're seeing now and did a couple strokes, and then I mixed a little bit of the orange or I'm sorry, I mixed in a little bit of red with the yellow to create an orangey color and just give it that natural bursting, because in reality when you see a firecracker pop, it has the like a yellowy tone from where it's popping and you're using fire to pop it. So I wanted to give that same effect in only certain areas, not too much where it overpowers the whole thing. And then on the red side, I did do a couple yellow dots, but I will later go back and fix that because you can't really see them that well. So now I'm working with the next small firecracker using that ultramarine blue color, and I'm doing the same technique I did with the red one, and I went in with a straight yellow for the middle section, and then I decided that the yellow with the blue was just not working, so I went in with the silver and try to make it pop a little bit more. And then I ended up using some more of that white, and then I did these dots around the firecracker. I will go back to this and fix the details once I'm finished. So next I'm going to be working with the largest firecracker up at the corner, and I am mixing that second light blue color that I used for my sky, that lake blue, and I mixed it with a little bit of white, and all I'm doing is I'm doing the same effect but not a continuous stroke, so maybe a smaller stroke and then leaving room in between to see the sky, and then I'll start another stroke. So I'm working in between here, leaving some room in between each stroke, so that way it just looks like a different firecracker and it gives it more like illusion of one of those like ball type of firecrackers popping. So it looks kind of like a starburst bubble. I don't know. So then next I am going in with that lake blue but without so much white in it, and just focusing that in the center because the center will be brighter than the outer bursting parts. And then I am going with some silver and just adding a couple of those strokes where there is empty space. And once I am finished with the silver part, I use some white with the yellow and added that into the spaces as well as in the middle of this firecracker. And I also use that to add some popping effect on the outer layer of this firecracker. And then I use that same technique to the other two smaller ones. So this layer right here is going to be the yellow mixed with white, so it doesn't look so yellowy. And to add just a little bit more realistic feel, you can add like little squiggles at the bottom, kind of giving the illusion that the firecracker is flying up into the sky, kind of like a little tail, and that way it just looks like, you know, it's flying up in the air, popping, just to give it an effect. And I only did this for this blue one. I don't know, I just felt like doing it for that one. I didn't want to do a whole bunch of tails there, so this will give the illusion that some were already popping while the blue one was on its way to pop. So once I am finished with all my details on these firecrackers, basically you just put a bunch of dots all around until you feel that it's enough. Now if you do way too much, you lose the effect or the imagery of it being a firecracker. So you can go crazy, but not too crazy, if that makes sense. So next I used my thickers, these silver glitter thickers, to spell out the word blessed, and then I used these kind of thin white thickers to spell out the word nation. And I had wrestled with either doing the word blessed in black outlining or in white outlining, but because there is that gradient where the letters overlap the dark side and then the bottom is on the lighter side, so I didn't know whether to go with dark black or with white, so I just went with white, and I did the outlining of the word blessed in white, and then nation I am going to just go ahead and do that with the black. Now this is a step you don't have to do if you plan on recreating something similar. You don't have to do this. I just like the letters to pop off the page a little bit so that it doesn't get lost, or just kind of for visual interest, basically. By the time you're watching this video, it should be July 1st, so to give you some time to journal or illustrate this verse with this imagery. If you do decide to recreate this, you can go ahead and tag me at Mommy with a Hobby over on my Instagram account. I would love to see what you made or how you recreated this illustration. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed, please go and hit that subscribe button down below, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.